Getting started is easy if we allow it to be easy. So in this video, I want to share with you my tips on how you can get out of your own way and just take those actionable steps to get started in whatever it is that you've been putting off, whether that's a project or getting a new job or just something that you want to build and put out into the world. Hopefully this video will help you overcome any resistance that you're feeling and just get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a little bit about my journey. So where I'm at right now is I left a job about 2.5 months ago because I knew I wanted to lean into YouTube. I hope that I have some insight and, from the life that I've lived that I can share with people that might help in some way or shape or form. And this was what I really wanted to lean into, except I have been riddled with self-doubt. I have had fears of failure, fears of judgment, and it's completely crippled me. It's completely crippled me, and it has taken me 2.5 months to get to this point where I'm finally sitting down, talking to you, to camera, my voice, the whole thing. And I want to share with you how I've come to this place, what it is that's helped me overcome some of the fears that I was having. So the first thing is perspective. I was just sitting there the other day thinking that I've got this opportunity right now. This opportunity has presented itself to me where I can use some time to try and do something different with my life, that I can try and change my life in some way. I have been working my entire life for someone else. That's all I've known. And whilst it's been very uncomfortable at times, because there are obviously challenges that come when you're working for other people and with other people, it's also been comfortable because it's what I know. It's the only thing that I know. I had a steady income, I had the job security, I had, perks and benefits that came with these jobs. And that was all great. But what I've done now is just completely throw myself into an unknown where I'm trying to go solo, go it alone. And it's an incredible opportunity for me. It's an incredible opportunity. And I think when these opportunities come by, it's important that we don't turn away from them. It's important that we recognize them and that we seize them. And the thing that makes it so difficult is that it's unknown. Anything that we do that is unknown is going to bring those feelings of anxiety, those feelings of doubt, those feelings of fear, because we don't know what to expect. But the truth is that we don't know unless we try. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to step outside of our comfort zone and try new things, because then who knows what could happen. So one of the things that I was thinking of to do with perspective is, if I didn't take this opportunity now, and in some 40, 50 years, when I'm an old woman and, maybe coming to the end of a life, who knows, I don't want to look back at this opportunity and realize that I could have really gone for it and I could have potentially really made something of it, but I didn't, just because I was afraid. Because I was afraid of what a couple of people that I know might say, or what the world might think, or I was afraid that it wasn't going to work out. Because that, I think, in 40, 50 years time, or however long, when I'm a 80, 90-year-old woman, that would really upset me. I've heard a lot of things lately about studies that they've done on people who are dying and what their regrets are. And this is one of the things that comes up, is that people regretting that they were too afraid to be themselves, too afraid to take risks, too afraid to try things, and living a life where they just conform to the societal norms, that they had their 9 to 5 job and that's just what they did because that's what they knew and that's what they thought that they always had to do. And the truth is, I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to get to the end of my life and I don't want to look back, particularly now where I've been presented with this opportunity, this chance in my life to put myself out there, to try something new, to really test my limits, to really see what I'm made of, to speak my truth out into the world, and to just squander it just because of fear, just because of self-doubt, because that's all mine. No one out there is putting that on me. No one out there is saying that you need to be afraid and you need to, oh, what if you're not going to be very good? No one out there is saying that. This is all just, it's in my own head. And this whole notion of having to just sort of get out of my way, I want to do this and I want to put myself out there because I'm hoping that content like this will help people. And if I get out of my way and look at the bigger picture of this and say, well, if this video that I do helps just one other person, then it was completely worth me getting out of my own way, me just feeling the fear and doing it anyway. This idea that even in these times of adversity, especially when it's, the worst kind of adversity sometimes is the adversity that we bring onto ourselves and our inner world, our inner conflict. But to feel that adversity and to just have the courage to do it anyway, I mean, it's incredible. And I know for me personally that just doing this, just sitting here now and recording this video, it's going to help me leaps and bounds with my confidence. It's going to help me leaps and bounds with that self-doubt that I've had in my head that's telling me that I can't do this and that it's going to fail. And I know now that just doing this, just by taking this action and stepping completely outside of my comfort zone to put myself out there in this way, very, very vulnerable way, that when I get to, 80, 90 years old, whatever happens, I will have no regrets because I tried, and who knows what could happen. Who knows, just by doing this, what other doors could open, who I could meet in the world. And I encourage you to have this perspective that you don't want to be that person in, your 80s and your 90s that is looking back at lost opportunities, moments that you could have really stepped out of your comfort zone, but that you didn't because you were afraid. Because at the end of the day, when we get to the end of our lives, none of it's going to matter anyway. So that's number one, is having this perspective, seizing that opportunity, and just not wanting to look back with any regrets for things that you maybe missed up just because of your own internal monologue that was telling you that you needed to be afraid, that you needed to have doubt, and that you just couldn't do it. Just go for it, give it a go, and you never know what might happen. And you want to be that person when you're 80, 90 years old that's looking back and going like, yeah, I did it. Whatever happened, I did it. The second thing that's really helped me is realizing that I don't need to be perfect. I mean, I think I'm stumbling already in this video and saying things that, I don't know, maybe don't make sense or anything like that. But the truth is that we all make mistakes. And when we're a beginner, we're students and we're learning. And this is what I will figure out as I go through this process. I will get feedback, I hope, from people in my life and people out there in the world that will tell me how I'm doing and what's going on. And I'll use that feedback. I'll take what's useful and I'll, try to discard maybe what's not useful. But I'll use that feedback and I will learn and I will grow and I will get better. Self-doubt is something that we feel before we start anything, because it's new. Again, we go back to this idea of it being unknown. And when something is unknown, it's uncomfortable. It is incredibly uncomfortable to step into a world where we're not sure, where we've not done it before, we've not practiced, we've not rehearsed. And that's perfectly normal. This self-doubt that comes up, it is perfectly normal. And if we're continuously waiting for the moment where we're going to feel ready, I mean, it's never going to come. We can think about all of it, but until we actually do it and until we actually put in the reps, we're never going to get better. We're never going to get to that place where we feel confident. So accept that at the beginning when you do something, anything that you do, and I've had this fear of needing to be perfect in so many aspects of my life. Whenever I have started new jobs, I have had fears of needing to be perfect from day one. And it was completely unreasonable, but that was just how my mind worked. And the reality is that when you are new, you are going to make mistakes. And sometimes we make really big mistakes, but those are the mistakes that we learn the most from. And the reality is that when you make a mistake, then you don't tend to make it ever again. But self-doubt is expected. Self-doubt in anything new is expected until you put in the reps. The third thing that's really helped me is detaching from the meaning that I've given to anything that I want to do. If you think about it, everything in life is inherently meaningless. Nothing is either good nor bad. It's a story that we tell ourselves about what something means. We put the labels and the identities on things to say that this is a good thing, to say that this is a bad thing, to say that this is a thing that's going to give me anxiety, to say this is a thing that's going to make me happy. But we can detach from those meanings. And it's important to spend a bit of time thinking about what it is that you have attached to this. What meaning have you put on this? Because oftentimes you'll find that it's just the meaning that you've put on something that's creating that resistance. And if you can see that meaning, if you can become aware of that meaning, it becomes a hell of a lot easier to detach from it. So for me, a lot of meaning that I put on this was fear of judgment, as I've said, fear of failure, and failure being, something that completely crippled me. And the reality is I don't even know whose definition of success that I was living towards, because for me, all I want to do is put these videos out there and hope that this helps and inspires somebody else out in the world. That would be an incredible gift for me. And if that happens, then I'll be really happy, and I'll be happy that I tried. And I think that's sort of the final message that I have, is that you don't know what will happen until you try. You have to trust yourself. I remember seeing a quote once that said that you have a 100% track record of overcoming everything in your life. That's anything that's ever come to you, you've overcome it. And this is no different. But lean into that discomfort. Use that discomfort as the fuel and the energy that's gonna make you great. Again, when you have feelings of anxiety, you can change the meaning of that. Anxiety isn't something that necessarily needs to cripple you, and you need to feel upset and sad about that you have anxiety, because the reality is that if you feel anxious about something, if you're feeling worried, if you have this self-doubt, it just means that you care. And if you care, then that is a good thing. It's good to care about the things and the endeavors that you want to pursue. So these are my tips for just getting out of your way. These are the things that have been helping me lately, and have got me to this place where I'm finally in front of camera and recording my first YouTube video. So I hope that that's been helpful, and like and subscribe, and more content will come. Thanks very much for listening.